You're listening to LSPN, the authority on sports-related podcasts.
The Calallen Wildcats weekly press conference is brought to you by the Calallen Touchdown Booster Club. The Touchdown Booster Club exists to support and promote the Calallen High School football program by uniting students, parents, coaches, and the community.
The Calallen Football Show is sponsored by Rat Hole Drilling for all your rat hole, mouse hole, and cellar construction needs. ratholedrilling.com. Also by Nolan's Restaurant. Nolan's Restaurant has been a Corpus Christi tradition. Whether you're craving choice steaks, Gulf Coast seafood, real pit barbecue, or their famous original poor boy sandwich, Nolan's delivers high-quality, scratch-made favorites that feel like home. Come taste generations of flavor at Nolan's. We also want to thank Meijer for their support. All right, everybody join me in welcoming Coach Charlie Reed to the show. Coach, how are things today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And I'm guessing some of the sting has gone off the loss to Lavernia, but I'm sure it still hurts a little bit, right?
Yeah, this unless you win the last one, it always stinks, and the week after you get knocked out, it's always probably the hardest one because you're starting to pick up equipment and clean out lockers, and every day is kind of a reminder that you're not playing anymore. But it's also a time to kind of reflect and on what what we've been able to accomplish this year and what our kids have been able to do, so yeah, obviously we'd love to be still practicing right now, but again, it's a time to kind of reflect on what we accomplished. So it's been a good year.
Oh, no doubt. And I tell you, there's probably, I don't know how many schools, 1,500, 1,800, that would have loved to end the season exactly like you did.
Sure, yeah. No, anytime you can, play on Thanksgiving is always special. Yeah. And I know we'll talk about the off season here in a minute, but, it usually takes me about a week to, kind of get over my pity party and all that kind of stuff, the last season. But I tell you what, I'm probably, more motivated and ready to get back to work, this year, than I had before. And in the last 2 years we played on Thanksgiving, and, our mindset going into all season is going to be playing in December. But yeah, so.
So, and I promise this will be the last time we talk about the Lavernia game, but we do have to cover that one.
Sure.
Because that one seemed to get away from you.
Yeah, it did. It did. I thought our kids played really hard. I thought first half, we did what we wanted to. We had talked about, this was going to have to be a, complementary football in all three phases. And, our offense, our defense, we'd kick the ball off and we get a 3-and-out and our offense takes it down. And, we ended up, finishing the drive with a field goal, but, our first goal was to score on the opening drive. And then I thought our defense played really well. I think we only had offensively, we only had three possessions in the first half and scored kicked a field goal in the first possession, scored a touchdown the second possession, and we were able to eat up some clock and, keep the ball away from them. And we let one go, gave them a touchdown, kind of right before the half. And that, that hurt a little bit, but, we go into halftime 10-10 and we knew, it was going to be a 4-quarter game. It was going to be a battle. And, second half, first half was great weather. It was nice, cool weather. And then second half, it started to rain on us a little bit. And, we knew we were going to have to be able to, get the ball on the edge and spread the ball out and stay balanced offensively. And, that took away, the rain and, took that away a little bit, from being able to spread the ball around a little bit, and that hurt us offensively. And, defensively, it's really a handful of plays, and when they were big chunk plays, big chunk touchdowns that we gave up, and one of them we misaligned, and the other one we over pursued, and they got three guys in the backfield that if you give them a crease, they got speed where they can take it to the house, and that's what happened. So even late in the game, fourth quarter, we still had a chance to get back in it, and they scored, I guess last few seconds of the game to make it 31-13. But again, obviously they're a good team, and hats off to them. When you feel like you had a chance to stay in it, and gave yourself a chance to win the game, that's always, stings. But again, hats off to them. They, obviously the returning regional champs, and I think it's going to be a heck of a game between them and Davenport this week.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and even out of all the 8 teams that are left, what do you think about that field, and who do you think will be there at state?
I'll tell you what, I think it's a tough one. We got to see Davenport a little bit, just watching some Canyon Lake film and some other films that we watched. Didn't really have a chance to study Davenport a lot, but I know they've got some really good players, and I think they're a solid team on both sides of the ball. I think Lavernia, I think they kind of found their recipe for success last year in the playoffs, where they just kind of grinded it out and pounded it, and then kind of pulled away from guys late in the game. They did that to LBJ last year, and they, that was kind of what they, kind of their MO. And so, I don't know. I think it's two really good teams going at it. And on the other side of that, I think it's, Kilgore and Pine Tree. So, whoever comes out of Region 4 is going to have another big one the next week. I mean, they're all big at this point, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough one to pick. Again, I think both teams are really, really good. And so whoever comes out of Region 4, I think is going to have a shot to get there.
I love it. Well, let's talk about the senior class. What will you be losing off of next year's team? Yeah,
so we, first of all, this senior class, and we kind of had our meeting yesterday, and senior class is really special. We had 18 seniors this year. Mm-hmm. And probably, the word that comes to mind when I you look back on this season and this group of seniors in particular is just, their grit and perseverance. We had 3 games this year that really could have gone, the other way, and, found a way to win, late in the game. We were down 2 scores against Rockport, came back and won that one. And, against Carroll, we had to, we're down with about 1:30 to go, and we return a kickoff for a touchdown, and then the last second field goal against TM. This group of seniors, I think, really did a great job as far as coming together. I thought the team chemistry this year was really special. But yeah, that group is we're going to miss them. But offensively, 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen are seniors. We're both, of our outside receivers, Drayson Gomez and Reese Rusher, which they also started at corner, and those are going to be big holes to fill. Obviously those guys have had, great careers here the last 3 years, and those 2 are going to be hard to replace. Tight end was a senior. But defensively, losing two of our D linemen, We're losing one interior and then one of our defensive ends. Like I said, both of our corners were seniors with Drayson and Reese, and again, those two are going to be hard to replace. But I think we got a good core of kids coming back. Like I said, defensively, starting one of our starting DNs and one of our starting D linemen, really two D linemen, if however you look at it, starters coming back. All three of our linebackers are coming back. Two safeties are coming back. Offensively, our whole backfield is coming back, except for our fullback was a senior as well. We got a couple of inside receivers that are coming back, and two of our offensive line, and we kind of talked about it earlier on about, we had some injuries early on in the year, and, the good thing about that was we were able to, create some depth, and I think that's going to pay off for us, getting those guys some good experience and some playing time. I think it's going to pay off. And then, our sub-varsity groups were really strong this year, and, we had a really good freshman class, and our JV team was really good this year. And so, we're gonna call upon, quite a few of those guys to step in and play. So, I feel good about, obviously it's very early on, but, as a coach, you're always kind of looking ahead to what you got coming back. And the great thing about the off season is there's always guys that, that you're not really expecting at this point that, really work themselves into a spot. And so, that's always the exciting thing about all season. But we're definitely going to miss those seniors and try to carry on pass the torch to our underclassmen.
Definitely. Well, and let's talk about your proud Papa moment here, Ryder, with what he got, the co-defensive MVP. Talk about what he's done and how he's stepped up.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me sometimes to, take the coach hat off and be a dad. But really proud of him. I thought he had a great year, and he missed 4 games early on in the year with an injury, and as a dad, that, I don't know if it's harder on the kid or, the dad, but I'm really proud of him. I thought he had a great year, and it's always nice to kind of get recognized for what you do. But yeah, he had a great year, and along with, a lot of other guys. So, proud of him, proud of our kids. And it's crazy to, it goes by fast, and it's crazy to think that, he's got one more year. So, we'll enjoy that.
Nice. And you picked up an award yourself for Coach of the Year.
Yeah. And I look at that as it's always labeled as a Coach of the Year, but, I look at it as more of a staff, award, and our, we've got a great staff, and they deserve that, and they put in so much work and time, and both sides of the ball, I think they've done a great job as far as adapting and putting, great game plans together, and not only that, for what they do for our kids off the field and everything else. So, it's good to recognize those guys. Yeah,
definitely. And what does the off season look like for you? Not just you specifically, but you as a coaching staff, you as the kids. What changes in the off season?
Well, I was talking to our kids yesterday. To me, off season is really where our program is built. When we kind of start from scratch, and that starts with number one is self-evaluation, and especially while it's still fresh in our minds, and we're doing exit interviews this week, and what's good about our program, what can we build on, and what are some things that we need to get better at, and what can we change. We do have a plan in place, but every year, we always kind of take a look at ourselves first, and what are ways that we can get better? What are some needs that we need? And, the biggest thing, I thought we made strides last all season with just overall team speed and strength. That's obviously going to be another, point of emphasis this all season. But, the other intangibles that, to me, because you can't control, talent from year in and year out, but what you can control is, what we consider our core values, relentless effort and toughness and commitment and power of the family and the leadership and the grit and the toughness. And, we talked about those 3 games that really could have gone either way. And to me, those are kind of culture wins. If we don't have the character and grit and perseverance to, continue to fight through, we may not win those kind of games. And so, to me, that's where the off season comes in, and that's where those things are built. We'll kind of introduce our off season next week. That way, when we get back in January, we're hitting the ground running, and we operate in a meritocracy, where, we earn everything, and from, the gear that they get to their status on the team. And, the great thing in the off season is that everything that we preach and everything that we grade, has nothing to do with talent. It's about, your commitment and showing up every day and your work ethic and, leadership ability and all those kind of things. And so, the all season is such a big part of what we do. And obviously that continues on into the summer and all the way to August. I'm looking forward to this off season. Like I said, our goal from here on out, is December football. And that's kind of the next step as far as, where we want to get. And it doesn't just happen, next November, that starts in the off season. And so that's going to be our focus moving forward.
I love it. Well, Coach Reeve, gosh, I want to tell you, it's been an absolute blast talking with you each week, but more importantly, watching this team. This is a fun team to watch. Congratulations on a really good season. And, I'm sure I'll see you long before next football season, but yeah, it's been a blast, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And I appreciate what you guys do. I know our fans community enjoy this podcast, and so I've enjoyed our time. I wish we had a couple more weeks together, but we'll definitely we'll do it again next year.
All right, take care, Coach.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Since 2012, JE Construction Services has built the roads and infrastructure that keeps South Texas moving. Their heavy civil expertise covers refinery work, underground utilities, paving, and more. If you want a dependable, full-service contractor, choose JE Construction Services. Visit their website at jecs.cc. That's JE Construction Services.